Okay. Welcome back to Signals on 91.3 Lagos Stock. Signals Marketplace will continue next week, Saturday. I have with me a seasoned communication professional with over 15 years of experience working with the United Nations and international organizations on sexual and reproductive health and rights. Fertility education became her mission after undergoing 3 unsuccessful IVF treatments in her 40s and wishing she was proactive to preserve her fertility. Through personal experiences and interactions with medical experts and women facing infertility, she observed the pervasive silence and stigma surrounding the issue, especially in her home country of Nigeria. Passionate about empowering young women, she is dedicated to promoting timely reproductive choices, the prevention of infertility, and advocating for equitable access to quality fertility care. Well, before I introduce her, I'd give a short, very special thanks to Adeola Balogun of Outspoken, who came to drag me from from one Saturday, I think it was last month, and said we're going somewhere. And I was like, what are you up to? And then it just dragged. And then we attended a book launch, and I sat down at the back. Book reading and lunch together, because we learned a lot of conversations. And it was very enlightening. And I said, no, Shola was like, you have to interview. I said, yes, I'm hearing. I'm coming. And Shola can be very interestingly, very good, persistent. Shola, don't kill me. But yes, I have with me Adeola Olunloyo.
Thank you
so
much. Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be here.
Yes. Now, we're having a conversation about, now let me check that I've pressed all the, I pressed everything. Now, to be part of the program, you can call us or send us a WhatsApp message, 0809-234-5913. We're discussing fertility health, and it's Women's Month. It's women. See, for the whole of March, it's women. I don't know what they now do about Mother's Day, but anyway, back to the conversation this morning. Welcome to Signals.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan of
the
family.
Well, it's good to have you with us. Now, yes. A deep dive into and congratulations of being an author of 2 books.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So, while the book reading was ongoing, this is going to be a little bit explosive on women and what we tend to face with childbirth, the famous biological clock that sometimes I disagree with, but okay.
And it's okay to disagree with it.
Wait,
I'll
now,
be curious to
know why you do. So when I said, and this would lead us into the conversation, because we're growing in a culture where, one of my guests said last week, we're groomed for marriage, we're taught for marriage, right?
We're taught to aspire only for that role.
And so it's, and they say, oh, the clock is ticking, and I'm like, which clock? And then I say, God is the owner of time, so why should biological clock be ticking and all of that? But having listened to different conversations that day, and it was quite eye-opening, because people were sharing their lives, and it was thank you. Now, and I'll say, why am I saying thank you? Because it's a conversation that most times we shy away from, and so that means that you decided to break all the tables that was remaining in Nigeria that special day. So tell us about the journey.
How do I summarize the journey?
Start where you want to.
Okay. Thank you once again, Jane, for having me. So I like to start by saying I didn't intentionally start my fertility journey. It began accidentally. Okay. When I got to a crossroads where I was dealing with a medical condition like fibroids and adenomyosis, which was pretty new and alien to me, right?
Yeah.
So I was faced with a situation where I said to myself, I've been dealing with fibroids for like 13 years.
Yeah.
I had a non-invasive surgery to deal with the fibroids, but I had respite for like a year or 2, and then the whole symptoms came back again. Heavy bleeding, long days of bleeding. I'm a career person, always traveling. It's a lot of stress and distress every time I have my period, right? And to make matters worse, and then I now got an additional diagnosis of adenomyosis. I'm like, what the
hell?
is that? Like, isn't fibroids enough to disrupt my life? Anyways, the doctor said the solution or the permanent cure for adenomyosis is hysterectomy. And trust me, I was ready because I said, you know what? I want to live my life. The quality of my life has been compromised. If I have to give up my womb to live a healthy and quality life, I'm happy to do that. So that forced me to think, wait a minute, I'm unmarried. I was 42 at the time. I'm 45 now. I'm unmarried with no kids. If I take out this womb, that's like permanent. So I now had to say, okay, doctor, can we freeze my eggs? And that was where the canker worms and everything came out. Like, what eggs do you want to freeze at 42 was what my doctor said. You are too late if you want to freeze your eggs at 42. And I was shocked. Like, what do you mean I can't freeze my eggs at 42? Then I started to learn about the timing of this. When we say biological clock, we say it flippantly, but we don't have adequate information about what age range is this biological clock ticking. When are you most fertile? When do you have to start getting concerned? And I was told by 35, it's good for you to freeze your eggs if that's your part. Because scientifically or medically or biologically, it's been proven by 35, the quality and quantity of the eggs starts to dip. So here I am at 42, facing that confrontation. But anyway, I said to my doctor, I still want to try. Even though he told me, look, at 42, your chances are very slim, maybe 5%. I said, well, I'll take the 5% and let me try, because before I shut the door, let me know I've tried. Yeah. So that led me down the path of doing IVF number 1, 2, 3. Unfortunately, they were all unsuccessful. And I just said to myself, this pain is unbearable. I'm a woman who is an achiever. I've succeeded. I've excelled in every other area of my life. And I felt really crushed that I didn't know before then how frail this time is. And I could have taken action to at least freeze my eggs. Nobody, we're all told you come out of school, you get married and all of that. I didn't know I was going to be single at 42. But there I was facing that reality. And then I regretted that I didn't freeze my eggs, or at least have something to bank on.
Now let me ask you this.
Okay.
So let's talk logic. Now, the time that you thought that you could freeze your eggs, were you aware of the information to freeze eggs very early?
Of course not.
Good. So that's why I said let's look at it logically.
Yes.
That a lot of times women will want to do it, but they don't even know that there's not much awareness of freezing eggs.
It's not just about women who want to do it. It's about they don't even know that the option is there.
To freeze their
eggs.
So
and there were missed opportunities with me. Okay. I had a doctor who was managing me for at least over 8 years with my fibroids, yes? Okay. And we were always joking. He would be like, go and get married. Yeah. He never for once said, okay, you know what? You are not yet married. How about, have you thought about, freezing your eggs? If that had come up, I would have asked more questions. Why? What is it about? How long does it take? How much does it? That question didn't materialize. And I felt it's a big loss on my part. It's a different thing if I was told and I said no. Okay. Than if I was offered and I had it on the table as an option.
Okay, so still a bit on freezing eggs. Some will say we want to freeze eggs in Nigeria where there is no light.
There is no light, but there's power backup, right? Okay. We're still functioning, even though we're dysfunctional.
Yes. We're functioning.
We are functioning somehow. We still buy frozen chicken. We buy meat. We have all these things.
But it's not. You see, that one is chicken. We're talking about life like this.
I know, and there is technology that is advanced now that helps to preserve even beyond you depending on power supply. So those who operate in that sector, they know what to do to ensure that quality is not compromised. And of course, maybe this is also an opportunity for government to look into it to ensure quality is not compromised, because you can have mushroom clinics popping up here and there, You know, if you want to protect the citizens or protect the population, it's the role of the Ministry of Health to look into to ensure that the standards are followed. The same way NAFDAC does that for us in the drugs. We can have, you know, Federal Ministry of Health ensure that regulations are in place, that only those who are qualified and who have the skills and competency to, you know, provide such services within the standard, global standard, operating in that business. So I wouldn't want to worry too much about that, because if we do, we will never do anything.
Okay, so now what's the most surprising thing that you found out and you learned during this fertility journey? Please share.
There were too many surprises, right?
Share with us.
The first one would be I wasn't prepared for how invasive it was.
Lord.
Right?
Lord.
So I remember very vividly the first day I started my treatment, taking the injections. They check you every 2-3 days to see how you're responding, and you're supposed to be examined during your period. So I got there naive, and I was told, oh, you're going to have a vaginal scan, and I'm like, I'm on my period. And the lady was like, yes, we know it has to be done during your period. I'm like, no, I don't want the doctor to see my blood. You know, so that took some
mental readjustment.
Yeah, like, oh my God, this is going to be a messy affair. So you're checked for 14 days. You're asked to come back every 2-3 days, depending on how you're progressing, and it's invasive. But I want to give it to the team who attended to me and the facility, which is Origin Fertility Clinic. They were so professional. I did not feel invaded. I did not feel disrespected at any point in time. It was done in a respectful, professional manner that made me open up and relax and know that I was in good hands, you know, throughout the entire process. What was the other surprising? Well, yeah, I won't call it a surprising thing, but it was a humbling experience for me. So here's the thing. When I decided to go for my IVF treatment, because I'm single, I was single at that time, I'm still single anyway, I have to use a donor sperm. Now, normally, many women in my situation opt for anonymous sperm. But because of my own values and preference, I wanted a known
human
sperm donor. So I had to face the dilemma of identifying potential men.
Guy, are you fit or not?
It sounds easy.
I know it's not easy.
It was humbling. It was very humbling. I had to draw up a list of 4 men, and I gave myself a criteria. The person must be unmarried. The person must be responsible. The person I must know the person to a certain extent.
Their family lineage must be okay.
I wouldn't have a family needed, because for me it was important, if I wanted to have a child, to have a child that was wanted, a child that was wanted and loved by the father, right? I didn't want to end up with a child that I'll have to be running around appealing for affection, right? Because I grew up with a very loving father who showed me affection every day of my life. I lost my father when I was 14 years old, but I can tell you that it was the love of my life, because from the time I was born, I was loved, I was pampered, I was cared for. So I wanted to bring a child into a world that had that. So I had 4 men that I approached, but thankfully these were men that I had a good friendship with. They knew me, I knew them. We didn't have any intimate relationship in the past. I just came to them as a friend to say, look, this is my situation. I have this medical condition, and because of this, I want to have a hysterectomy, and because of this, I want to try IVF, and because of this, I'm looking for a potential father for my child, if God wills it. So, surprisingly, my first choice and preferred choice turned me down, but in a respectful manner, and the person I least expected to accept was the one who agreed for us to do this.
You know, when you were saying it that day, when you were sharing the story at the
book reading,
I'm like,
how?
It's not. I'm like you have looked down on somebody finished. I wanted to tease you that day, honestly.
When they say humbling, that's the most humbling experience I've had in my life. To sit a grown man down and make a proposition, of that kind. It's tough. It's tough, and it's not for everyone. So I would never blame any woman who chooses an anonymous donor, because it's not easy.
They will be nice. I want to be nice with you. I want to be nice. Now, when you say that it wasn't easy, and I respect the journey of it not being easy, would we say that because of the background we're coming from, because of the cultural background we were coming from, it's very hard to go and ask a man out that, okay, come and be the potential father for my child?
It's almost impossible.
Okay, because of the cultural background we're coming from.
Exactly.
So shout out to the Gen Zs who are very bold
and stepping
up.
You see, I believe in transparency. There are a lot of our old wives' tales will tell you, if you want to get pregnant for a man, just find a man. One of my older aunties said, you're attractive. Just find a man. You don't need to tell him what you want. Just do the thing, get pregnant and move on. You don't even need to tell him. And I said, I'm sorry, that's not me. And I want to do something that I can live with the rest of my life. And I don't want any stigma on my child if that was going to be the case. So again, one of the things this journey has taught me, is we must respect people's choices. Because we have a culture that confines us to a single path or pathway to motherhood. And I came out of that experience realizing that people have medical conditions, people have different family values, people have different personalities, people have different... For instance, what I just explained is something many women would never do.
No.
They can't. And so it's alien to me, but it's difficult for them. And I must respect that not everybody is that bold. Yes. Not everybody is capable of coming up or coming out to even say they want somebody to know that this is what they want to do. And I can tell you for a fact that these 4 men that I approach, we still respect each other. We still have conversations, and they're matured enough and responsible enough to know who I am, because we've known each other for years. So it's also important, to ensure whatever decisions you make on your fertility journey aligns with your values, with your principles, and your choices.
Now let's go back. Somebody's saying, we go back to how she asked the 4 men. Now, your preferred choice says no. Yes. And you were not happy about it. Why were you not happy?
No. I didn't say I wasn't happy. I said, he said no. And of course, if you say, this is my first choice, and the person doesn't respond.
You know that way that
it's like a tiny...
your ego is like, what is this?
But you know what? I respected him when he told me why.
Okay.
Because it was a lot for him too. This is something no woman has ever asked him. Okay. Right? And by the time we saw each other, okay, so one lesson I learned for anybody who is considering that is that don't have that conversation on the phone.
Have face-to-face conversation.
Yes. I mean, I approached 4 men. 2 were out of the country, which was why I had a phone conversation with them. But I realized by the time we now met physically, the conversation was more meaningful. I could now deeply understand his own perspective as to why he turned it down, his own fears, his own concerns, and they were very, very genuine, and I respected him for that. So if you ever want to try, I would say have face-to-face, because there's more meaning to such now, a very sensitive
to the least expected person who agreed. Why did he agree?
Because we share the same values, and because he is single,
okay,
and he wasn't settling. He was like me. We have a category or a certain group of people who are not getting married because they have not met the person they want to get married to. And there's nothing wrong with them. Okay? So he understood where I was coming from, because he is also a man, matured, responsible, capable of starting a family, but he had not met someone. And he was like, I wouldn't mind having a child, because he also has strong family values. So we sat down. It was almost like a marriage conversation, because what's your family like? What's my family like? What are our expectations? What name will the child bear? Who is the child going to stay with? It was very deep, and I loved it. I loved it because no surprises, nothing hidden. so that everybody is comfortable to say this is what you are bringing.
Book about the questions.
I am going to write a book
because
chronicling my journey. It took me, Toyin, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Anyone you call, I'll answer.
I need to say this. I am talking about this boldly today because I have healed to a certain extent.
Thank you.
It took me 2 years to be able to get to where I am today to talk about this.
Thou shalt not cry. We shall not cry. We shall be strong because people are going to get strength from us.
So I am working on it this year to write the whole the chronicle of my journey, what I've learned, and the steps that can help other people. You know, but for now, this is what I'm doing to create more awareness for people to know that this is possible.
It's a strong awareness. Well, it's Signals on 91.3. We're discussing fertility health with Adeola Olunloyo. And somebody sent a message. The woman in the studio is a very strong woman. My aunt got pregnant at 45. She wasn't expecting it. She had fibroid ever since. And when the tummy was growing, she was actually treating fibroid instead. Seriously. Scan didn't show the baby tissue. Delivered through CS. A bouncing baby boy. He's 13 today. Very intelligent. A chest and arts young girl.
That's sweet.
At first, due to too much drugs intake during pregnancy, treating fibroid, the boy couldn't walk or talk. But today he can and super active. God is amazing. My name is Oluwajomiloju. Thank you very much. Now, if you have questions, comments, send us a WhatsApp message. 0809-234-5913. If you're just tuning in, it's Signals and we're discussing fertility health. Now, there's some things that you shared at the book reading. I'm still calling it book launch. Book reading. Please launch another one. Book reading where you looked at the different kinds of women that we have.
Yes.
And you made a statement about for women who are feminists to understand the women who are not feminists. And I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, explain.
How do you mean?
So what I mean is for some of us who are very outspoken,
yes, we
can't understand why another woman is culturally groomed. And so for women who are outliers, that there's a mismatch of the culturally groomed woman is saying, I have kids. You are saying you are chasing career. So there's that sort of like balance.
I don't like the word feminism, especially in conversations in Nigeria, because it's a word that has been abused, right? So I will not use it for this conversation. What I would say is, it's about, I talked about choices earlier. One of the message that I'm passing for people to understand is every woman or even man's fertility journey is different. And our trajectory in life is also different. Like I said to you, I never knew at 45 I would be single. We were all raised to say, oh, you go to school. Once you go to school, you graduate. After graduation, you marry. After marrying, you have children, and you live happily ever after. But the reality of life shows us that people take different pathways. And for those who want to pursue, compared to our mother's generation, the women in this generation want more, right? Or more opportunities are coming. They're going to school more than our mother's generation. They're pursuing careers more than our mother's generation. They're contributing to their households more than our mother's generation. They are actually even breaking barriers in their profession. Look around us. Look at the world. Look at Nigeria. There are many women Amazons doing excellent work, amazing work, and contributing to the productivity of society. So we would be missing the point if we continue to apply the lifestyle of our mother's generation to the decisions the women in this generation have to deal with. Because the reality is, the age of first-time mothers are growing in Nigeria. Even though we're still pronatal, we're very blessed. Women, we procreate a lot in Nigeria, right? But we are now having a growing population of women who are delaying marriage and delaying motherhood, or even opting not to be a mother. And what do we want? What plans do we have for them? How do we cater to that population? And also, we have a growing population of couples with infertility. WHO released a report to educators that 1 in 6 globally, 1 in 6 persons are going to be dealing with infertility. And we can tell. I always ask people, I know people who are dealing with infertility. You, I'm sure,
Yes,
know people. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know. What plans do we have for them? Because if we fixate ourselves in that box where, just, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? Is it that the sex position is not good, or what did you do in your past, or what? It's, you know, we make a lot of assumptions, and they're very hurtful when it comes to fertility.
No, it's not assumption. We make a lot of judgments.
Judgment is the word. Assumptions, judgments, and hurtful words to people who don't maybe follow the norm.
Who don't respect boundaries.
So let's become more compassionate. Let's become more enlightened to understand that people's bodies are different, people's journeys are different, people's circumstances are different, and people's choices are different when it comes to their fertility.
Now, when time runs out, can we stop time from running out?
We can't.
Okay.
We can't. And that's
a part
when time runs out. I mean, again, we are in a society that is very religious.
Extremely religious.
People think that, oh, God is almighty, God is omniscience, omnipotent. When I want to marry at 50, I will have my child. Excuse me. God designed us to have life cycles. That when you have a baby, 0 to 10, the development of that child is different from 10 to 20. Adolescence, puberty, all of those sex hormones and all of that. God has programmed our body to produce or function in different cycles. For instance, a woman has her menarche, which is her first period, and will also have her last period as menopause. Who instituted it? It's God. Okay. So if you want to work with God's cycle, you must understand the times and the seasons. Even as we are being educated, I'm Christian, right? And I'm sure even among my Muslim brothers and sisters, we preach this. There's time for everything. So part of my message is to women who are high flyers, who are career driven, who are all of that, to please pay attention. I'm not stopping you, and I totally respect anyone who is pursuing their career. But as a woman, understand the limitations of your biology as well, which means understand the options that you have. If you still don't have a partner at 35, make sure you freeze your eggs before 35, if you can afford it.
Shola, are you satisfied now?
If you can afford it. But if you can't afford it, at least even educate yourself about what is your path going to look like. Because, for instance, a lot of women also still go about with medical conditions that will hinder them from procreating later. For example, the simplest and the most common one is fibroid. Do you know how many women are walking around with fibroids? Afraid for the surgery. And you can't also blame them for being afraid when we look at the situation of our health system. But the truth is, getting rid of that would also prepare you for easier or better conception. Some women, it's hormonal imbalance that they're dealing with, and they don't even know. And even men are not left out of this conversation.
I wish I was a guy. Good morning. My name is Oshodi. Good morning, and your beautiful guests. I want to thank both of you for the amazing insight and eye opener for this new generation. I may ask your guests, please, if I may ask your guests, although with all due respect and not to sound naughty, if truly women can freeze her eggs at early age, then it's true she has some cooling compressor she's caring about. I'm single too, and can a man do same? I would appreciate. Can men freeze their?
Oh yes.
Men can freeze their
sperm.
Oh, okay.
And let me say this: often, even for women or men, there are some people who have challenges. Maybe like if people have cancers or have terminal illnesses that they have to go for an invasive treatment, they are actually advised to freeze their sperm and their eggs. Because if you go through chemo or radiation and all of that, it can affect or totally damage your semen, your sperm, or your reproductive
body.
What you call it?
Body.
So yes, men are also advised to freeze their sperm if the need arises. But if you seek medical help, they will be able to advise whether or not that is happening. And one other thing I want to say is this: where migration is taking place a lot. I hope we all know. Japa syndrome is taking place. You have couples who get married and then they're separated for a few years because either the husband is away or the wife is away. Sometimes in that situation also, the couple may be advised to freeze. If, for instance, because of the distance or the time apart and the window that the woman doesn't want to miss, they may advise, okay, let your husband store his sperm. You try the procedure while he's away so that you can both have a baby while he's away for 3 years or what. Do you know how many couples that I know who have had that story? When I say live that life of living apart, they are married, but they are apart, either because the man is pursuing his PhD or looking for greener pastures to be able to take care of the family so that the wife can join later. So yes, to answer our question, a man can also freeze his own sperm if the need arises.
His journey. Well, I want you to read chapter 8 of The Future of Fertility and Mother and Womanhood from When Time Runs Out.
Okay.
Please read.
What part exactly?
1, 2.
Okay. So as we close this exploration of fertility in a rapidly changing world, it becomes increasingly clear that we stand at a pivotal moment in our understanding of womanhood and reproductive choices. The dialogue surrounding fertility is evolving, yet the need for meaningful change is urgent. It's time to challenge the status quo, dismantle outdated norms, and create space for more inclusive and empowering perspectives on women's fertility. So how do we empower women to take action? To all the women reading this book, please go get your copy. Remember that your fertility journey is yours to navigate. You possess the power to shape your reproductive future through informed decision making and proactive engagement with your health. Educate yourself about your body, the options available to you, and the implications of your choices. Conduct a fertility assessment to know your reproductive status and treat any medical condition that may affect your fertility promptly.
Now, for women, thank you. For women who don't want to have kids, is it still advisable for them to freeze their eggs?
They have no reason to. Unless as a matter of community service. They want their eggs to be harvested and donated. Because the same way we donate blood, some people offer to donate their eggs for preservation to support infertile couples or other women who may find it useful.
Now, the signals on 91.3 Lagos Talks. We're discussing fertility health with Adeola Olunloyo. Now, here's the thing. In a society where we're judgmental. Now, let me break down so a woman goes through CS, she's not a natural woman. A woman goes through IVF, she's not this. A woman does surrogacy, she's not this. How do the culture as a country begin to be aware that it's okay that a CS woman is still a woman, that a woman who does surrogacy is still a woman, is still a mother, that the woman who does IVF, that it's okay for women to try other options as far as like it baby.
I would say this is International Women's Month, yeah?
Yes.
And I'm happy with the theme on accelerate action. My message is to women themselves. Because I'm using myself as an example, and you've said it rightly. A woman can never win in a man's world.
I've never won in our own world.
A woman can never win in a man's world. So as a woman, accelerate action on your fertility the way it suits you. Because your journey is your journey. It's not anyone's journey. Now, it's difficult when you're dealing with family members that have a strong influence on you, or you are living in an environment that is so conservative and restrictive. But I would say at the end of the day, always remember that you are the only one who would live with you for the rest of your life. And like you said, if you marry early, you are condemned. If you marry late, you are condemned.
If you don't marry
at all, you are labeled.
They'll call you a bitter woman.
If you have one child, they would call you Olomoko. if you have many children, they will say omobere, oshibere in Yoruba, like you're just popping. So at the end of the day, you have to give yourself that power. Take your power back. Analyze, like I said, for instance, I looked at my situation. I got to my turning point when I was faced with a health condition that I said no more. You know, we're from a culture where women are expected to endure pain. And I want to tell many women out there, if you are living with fibroids and it's compromising your life, please go and remove it. And of course, do your research. Don't be sentimentally attached to any hospital or any medical person because they are your relatives or because, no. Do your objective research. Where are the best hands? Because I got to the point where I said, you know what? When I'm not the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, why am I enduring this? Because I've been programmed to say, Obirinian, you must endure. I just saw that I was not living. Every time I want to have my period, I'm apprehensive. I will carry my pad, sanitary. I have a separate bag for my sanitary pad because I wasn't using normal pads. If I'm bleeding 12 days, let me tell you a story. I was taking a bath on one of my days. And something, I just heard boom. And I screamed. I screamed because of what came out of my body. It was like a chunk of liver. And it was blood clots. And I said to myself,
how long?
What? Who am I? Who am I waiting for to give me permission to live? I just want to live. It's okay to want to live a normal life, to live a healthy life, to have a good quality life. And that was what led me on my fertility journey. So for every woman, understand your health. Some women are diabetic, some women are hypertensive, some women are overweight, some women, there are so many things. So you must put yourself into consideration and deal with those things, take them out or manage them or eliminate them when you can before you approach your fertility. Because guess what? You can't separate your fertility health from your overall health. They are linked, right? You can't be healthy overall and unhealthy. Your overall health will influence adversely your fertility health. So every woman must be in tune with their body, to before making any decision on their fertility.
Hello? Good morning. Please speak up now. Malik. Okay, Oga Patrick, how are you? Go ahead.
I'm happy to hear your voice.
Thank you.
And I guess
Yes, it's here.
she's a woman that takes the phone by the heart.
Oh, yes.
I love you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Many women are just waiting. Just like that, waiting. And as according to the life of a woman, because they try to put in time and everything will show up. And the woman will be like that throughout the life. It's too old and there's nothing again. I love this woman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Many people are going to learn from you. I love you so much. Thank you, yeah?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Coming from a man, that's a huge...
No, he's a huge fan. He's a huge fan. Mr. Patrick is a huge fan.
Thank you, Mr.
Now,
Patrick.
let's look at support system. What happened? Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. And to your guest. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much for the insightful, topic. And this is an eye opener for, most especially for our youth, teenage ladies. But I want to ask your guest, how far has she gone in trying to pass this message across to all our new generation? Because they need to know this, because what she has said has really brought an enlightenment to the world. And I want to add my own to her. Please, madam,
Yes, sir.
I think you need to start from the schools so that we get all our young women educated on this topic, because most of them might not know this, and I'm sure that most of them don't even listen to radio. This is a great step to, bringing people to the awareness of how they could take care of their general health system and their facility. My name is Alexo.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you.
Mr. Alex.
So, we're talking support system. How's the support for you been like from the journey that you decided that Adeola, we're changing routes?
I have to say that my support system, I was very, very lucky. Again, remember that I've been working in the area of sexual and reproductive health since I was 17. So I have like a community of experts, of mentors, of friends, of colleagues who are in that space. And all of them are agreeing with me to say, wow, we have missed out on fertility. We were focused on reproduction. We were focused on family planning, but we really missed out fertility. So when I started my journey, I have to say that I am blessed. Blessed, I had a wonderful medical team, and I had an inner circle team of friends who are like family, who know my journey, who know my story, and were there for me through thick and thin.
Hello? Hello? Good morning.
It's difficult to hear.
Okay. So you know what? Please send us WhatsApp message 0809-234-5913. 0809. WhatsApp 0809-234-5913. Now, we were talking about support and inner circle of friends.
Yes. And family.
Okay.
But when I say inner circle,
not
everybody.
No, you have to be very, very inner.
You see, I want to also say this. For people, because of our culture, when somebody hears, Lagbaja did IVF, or this other person just had a baby and I didn't know, please forgive them. You are not supposed to know. Because that journey is very turbulent. Okay, look at me. I had 3 failed IVF cycle. Imagine me telling the whole world. I was in an emotional state that was shattered. And I didn't want a crowd on me. I didn't want people amplifying my anxiety and my grief and my pain. Sometimes you want to allow people grieve in their private space, or grieve the way they want to grieve, away from the public eye. So I had understanding people who understood how to support me and allow me breathe and allow me be and just provide whatever support it is that I need without that drama of afewa kiyin, let's go for, it's important for us to know how to also treat people who are going through fertility difficulties. The best gift you can give someone sometimes is silence and prayers, and just allowing them to be.
Nigerians
have their space.
Chats.
We don't have that culture, unfortunately, but we need to learn it, because that is what it means to be sensitive. Sensitive to people's feelings, sensitive to how you make people feel, and allowing people to come to you when they are ready. I told you it took me 2 years to be able to come on this radio station to talk to you, for instance. If you had come a year, I went through a season where if I'm talking about it, I'm crying.
Yeah. That's why I said no crying. We're not crying. Now,
so
because crying is bad.
I know, but I'm just like,
this is strength. This is strength.
But it didn't come in a day.
But this is strength.
So now imagine somebody who is going through it afresh. And you are there invading and imposing and saying pẹ̀lẹ́, or why not do it like this? Or maybe it's because you didn't do this. Maybe if you had known, I would have told you. Please keep your opinions to yourself.
You know what you have now, because we cannot do it alone.
Yes.
How can men be included in conversations about fertility education? Because they're the one that we need their thing.
There's no fertility without men.
Because we need their thing.
Men just, again, I was saying to somebody recently that, look, all of us grew up without any training on how to navigate relationships, not to talk of marriage, not to talk of fertility.
Very true.
So we must give our men grace in terms of the culture that has produced our men. For instance, even when we talk about fertility, we are so I don't want to use the word wicked. We are so
Myopic.
hard on men. There are many men who also have infertility issues, but they cannot say it because we have a culture
Of judgment.
that associates masculinity with fertility.
Okurinye.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And we feel like a man is not a man if he cannot impregnate a woman. And that's such an unfair weight to put on any man. If a man has challenges with his sperm or any issues with his sperm, it's not stopping him from his sexual performance. It's not stopping him from his role as a father, or as a husband, or as a brother. So you now take that tiny part of his life
Yeah, but it should
and
not-
use it to sum
Okay,
up
so let's just say what
his worth.
wait now.
It's-
So let's
it's
say
so
1%
unfair.
of them should. Okay, so it's a general conversation. Some of them should not be deceitful that they cannot score goal.
It is the society
Of silence.
that has not made the environment conducive or safe enough for them to come out.
But some families know, and then they wrap in
We
other ways.
are all in this society that we have created to ourselves, in this culture.
So,
And that's why we say culture is not static. I am defining my culture. That's why I am speaking up. And that's why I am saying I am living by my own values. Like I said to you, why would I approach 4 men? Do you get what I mean? I can easily just go with the flow and say, how fun, I like you like me.
Yeah.
Let's
But
let's
because of
roll.
your-
But because I'm creating that culture and these men respect me today, that I brought it to the table. So I feel for men, one of the things they should understand is going through infertility is very emotionally turbulent. If there's a couple where it is the woman that is known, the wife that has a problem, and the man doesn't have a problem, that's not the time to abandon your wife, because two has become one. And what I ask people is, what if it was you that had the problem as a man? Would you want your wife to abandon you? No. The question now is, what's the solution? So it's not the time. And as women, men don't know us entirely when it comes to our emotions, our hormones, and whatever. And a woman who has condemned herself because she can't give you a child needs every support from you to see her beyond her ability to procreate or not procreate. But I can say
To see her as not a baby making machine.
alone. Unfortunately, again, our culture,
And the family
most
members.
people marry because they want to procreate in our culture.
But why not?
Very rarely,
But then there's the issue of adoption.
even
Lots of time-
before adoption, if you are walking the path of infertility and you're looking for solution, if you talk to your fertility doctor, they can give you different options. If it's this man's sperm that is good and the woman's egg is not viable, you can use donor egg. If it is the woman's eggs that are viable and the man's sperm are not good, you can use donor sperm. At the end of the day, it should be between you and your partner, not you and your family. But again, every family is different.
Navigating that slippery slope of
Some
different
men
families.
take permission from their family before they make decisions, right? So maybe this advice is not for them.
So I think we need to look at the different family dynamics.
Yes.
There's different family orientations. There are different
Absolutely.
family upbringing,
Beliefs.
belief systems, and all. And so when you hear people say, "Oh, I don't want surrogacy," I'm wondering at you, and it's fun, and I find it very mind-numbing when I have interactions with people and they say, and we talk about surrogacy and we say adoption, and I'm like, no, show you when there was somebody I'm going to use myself as an example. There was somebody was like, oh, I was asking that, what do you think about adoption or surrogacy? And the guy looked at me and said, what happened to your womb? I said, I'm okay, but I'm just asking, and it begs to
Look,
a lot of questions.
reproductive rights are like human rights. Even though it sounds vain, if a woman says, I don't want to carry a pregnancy because I don't want to ruin my body, it's her choice.
Okay.
Do you understand? I'm
Yes,
just using
yes.
that as an example.
But that's
How much more a woman who is genuinely having a medical challenge, she cannot carry a pregnancy. There was a story, real story, that I heard from medical experts. There's a particular woman. Husband is a pastor. They've been trying to have children. This woman keeps having miscarriages. until the doctor had to call her husband and say, do you want this woman to live or you want this woman to die? Because clearly this pathway is
It's
not working. For a woman in your wife's situation or condition, your option is to look at surrogacy. It took a lot of convincing, counseling, cajoling. Guess what? They have triplets today
So
from surrogates. If you see those children, oh God,
they look like the owners of the
they are a miracle. But it took a lot of work on the husband to imagine and consider it's still our child. Somebody is just helping us, you know, because this woman's body is not capable, and it's not her failure. It's just some people have incompetent cervix. Some people, do you know some women are bedridden for 9 months when they get pregnant? They become useless. I become useless when I'm having my period. For example.
Yeah, I just wanted to go. I used to tell it that guy.
Well, you have women who don't even know what menstrual pain is. Yes. So they are looking at you like, you know what? my best friend, when I did my fibroid operation, fibroid and Adewunmi, when I showed the picture of what they brought out of me, I mean, I'm tiny. If you see what they brought out of me, my friend said, don't worry, no. Because when I'm on my period and I am useless, she's like, Oman Kerasha. Do you understand? Like you don't like, it's like you translate it for me now. Oman Kera, what is Oman Kera in English?
Like, you're doing like
you have a low pain threshold, like you can't withstand
low pain.
But when she saw that and said, this is what you are every month, this is what you are juggling with in your womb.
She should be buying you ice cream every day.
You know what I mean? So everybody is different, and when you sign up to marry somebody, you are marrying that person with all their package, because we just don't know. We don't know how it's going to turn out.
What policies, and finally, because we're having fun, and wait, before I even ask policies, let's look at the impact of societal pressure on women struggling with infertility. Yeah.
We've dealt with that a little. There's stigma.
How can we, because I'm happy that you use the pastor as an example, how can religious leaders begin to educate their congregation that God is God and every child is a child, every child is a miracle, but the pathways are different?
In this part of the world, unfortunately, our religion leans too heavily on the supernatural. Right?
Yeah.
We believe women must only procreate like Hebrew women. We believe if your faith is not strong enough, that's when you will need CS, or that's when you will need epidural, or that's when.
And recently there was a fight on Facebook about epidural or not, and I'm wondering, can't women be kind to one another? Before we even continue, Lagos Talks, I really bless God for today. The pain is so real and lonely in Nigeria and Africa. 23 years of marriage, of emotional hell, now had financial issues. Hugs for your sister guest. I'm hugging her. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That's a long journey.
That's a long journey.
And I feel you.
Why is there this? Some people say epidural is good. Some people say
again. Please, if you don't take any message from this conversation,
you should
please stay out of people's fertility.
Stay out of their wombs.
Stay out of their lives.
Stay out of their
because
vaginas.
Many women have lost their lives because they want to prove something to the society or prove something to the church.
Okay.
Right? Because they want to prove something to the church. And my message to religious leaders is, please provide spiritual support and allow the professionals provide medical support. The role of a spiritual leader or a religious leader is to pray. Pray and support your members over any choice they make. You are not a doctor. And you don't know the medical condition that is threatening the life of that woman or that man that would make you force them to have natural birth, conceive naturally or whatever. And the other one I want to say is, let's begin to destigmatize IVF. Oftentimes in the church, when you hear people give testimony, they will never tell you. When you hear, oh, we've been waiting for 20 years and God suddenly answered us, we have triplets. It's okay to say, through the help of IVF,
You know, anytime anybody
have-
gives birth to twins,
it's possible.
no,
But then
anytime-
we hide it, and there's nothing to hide.
no,
It is
but-
God that has allowed it to even happen, even with IVF.
No, but anytime you see people with twins, automatically you think that you just know that they are IVF babies.
Twins can even happen normally, but when you see triplets, and it's okay. Let's just normalize it. God made it possible through IVF. It's okay. That's your pathway. It doesn't mean that it has to be miraculous. A miracle is no longer a miracle if it is common. Do you get what I mean? So we need to respect that everybody's fertility journey is different. All we need is to have more compassion and to give people support the way they want to be supported, not what you think you should impose on them.
I need to keep quiet. It's not
Or silence.
they should not even show up there.
They
Because,
can't quietly.
Because while we say our body, our choice,
Yeah.
sometimes people do not want to respect that it's our body, our choice because of the way they reason and the way they think.
That's why we're trying to have that change. We're promoting and encouraging people to be aware. You know, it's self-awareness.
Yes.
How am I making my neighbor feel? My childless neighbor or my single neighbor, how am I making them feel when I make some comments?
When I
What
make
are you
horrible
waiting?
comments.
What are you waiting for?
See,
Kill and she, kill and duro
it's
she.
okay to block the person. There is no need.
So
Because
we
people
need
block.
to re-educate ourselves. We need to unlearn some behaviors, and I call it intrusive culture. Stop intruding into people's personal life and space, so that you can give them that room and that respect to make the right decision that is best for them.
Now, looking back, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing from a place of strength. It's strength. It's really strength it is strength. And I say strength because there are many, they said millennials don't want to have children. It's Gen Zs that want to now, they want to quickly do what they want to do and move on. But I think because we've seen how the X's and boomers have, and they're like, no, millennials are saying, no, you guys, and then the ones after are saying, I want to have what I want to have, and then move forward. Because sometimes I see arguments.
Some of them, like, I don't even want to have at all.
Yeah, and we see arguments that children, people have to marry early, 22, and I'm like,
let's just stop this timeline for people,
okay,
because the reality is we are expecting certain behaviors or milestone without putting into consideration the social factor, the economic or financial factor, you know, the educational factor. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's taking longer now. Look at how many times some young people write JAMB to even get into university. So if somebody has set a life goal to say, I'm not getting married until I finish university, and university is taking 8 years, that's that person's choice, because that person has a standard. It does not mean that the person
doesn't know what they're doing.
Know what they are doing, but that person with empowerment, with knowledge, with information, they know, okay, this is my window, and even if I miss the window, I have this option, and I know why I did what I delayed, not because I didn't know, but because my journey was just peculiar. So we should give room to have an inclusive society and culture that understands that we all have our different destinies, different pathways, different results. Not just because there's something wrong with us, but because that's our path that is unique to us.
Okay. Well, my time is up. I've sort of extended, but looking back from the time you started sharing, from writing the books, to what have you learned so far from the feedback from people?
Everyone is saying this is a timely conversation.
Okay.
And I'm really grateful for the positive response. But my appeal is everything we want to do in life starts with knowledge. Okay. And that's why I wrote the books. Because it's not just about when time runs out, but it's also about different pathways. The other book, Pathways to Fertility, is educating people about 7 proven pathways to fertility. Because everybody focuses on IVF. For some people, it may not be IVF. For some people, like I said, it may even be a natural method. For some people, it may be changing lifestyle.
Okay.
For some people, it may be eliminating stress. For some people, it may be balancing your hormones. For some people, it may be adoption. So educate yourself, assess your own self to know where you are, to be able to then decide which pathway is most suitable for you. And doing it with men leading, providing support, not just financially, but emotional support and adequate knowledge on their part themselves will make a world of difference for us to make changes into people's lifestyle when it comes to their fertility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony, for having me.
Thank you for sharing
Thanks.
plenty conversation. We're still going to have you back again.
No worries.